Welcome to the Kickstart Your Coaching Edge podcast, where it's all about getting real around all things coaching.
And what we know for sure is that what got you here won't get you there.
You can't see the spinach in your own teeth.
And finally, hang on, because this one's really deep. Once you realize that you are the traffic, everything makes complete and unadulterated sense.
So, hey, Karen.
Yes, Jennifer.
Today, we're going to talk about what gets in the way of people getting the results that they want, otherwise known as when accountability goes AWOL.
Is that what happens then? Accountability just goes AWOL?
It does. What happens is the commitment and accountability gets replaced with what? Excuses, right?
All the time.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of the common things that we hear that gets in the way of accountability. So remember, our clients, our teams, ourselves, when we start out with things, we have where we are today, where it is that we want to be. And we may have a really great path. We may have, bought into the reason. We may have laid out the game plan. We've charted things. We're ready to go. We hit the ground running, and 4 days in, something happens that derails us. And then all of a sudden, all of that accountability goes out the door. And what gets replaced is, what happens is the excuses come in, right? Because true accountability would be this. I'm off my path. I chose something that was not in support of the action I really wanted to take. I am now immediately back on the path. That's accountability, right? So working in there, what do I do when I go off course? Do I wait till Monday? Do I wait till the first of the month? Do I wait until we are on vacation in Antigua? The truth is that it needs to be right now. The accountability is the next choice and the next decision should be in service of what I say that I want. And so what happens is,
just so you know, we're not going to Antigua.
We are not. We're going somewhere. And so then we have to look at what are the different types of excuses that come into play that derail our accountability, that then in turn derail our results.
I think one of them, right, the one that jumps out at me first, Jen, is that it's that, and I think that we got some of these from the maybe the Oz Principle book, but it's about one of the stages is like the ignore and deny stage. Like that is like, right, it reminds me of the three monkeys, right? Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. So you just pretend that there's nothing there, right? There's no problem. So if I don't see it, or if I don't hear it, or if I don't say something, then it's not even really there. So that's the ignore and the deny stage.
I love that. Great example is when, let's say that you're trying to have a really high performing team, and then somebody on the team isn't meeting those standards. We just maybe ignore and deny it by saying, oh, that's just Bob. Or perhaps it's like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I'll deal with it next month. I'll talk at our next one-on-one. Those types of things are the excuses or the reasoning that come in that look like ignore and deny, as opposed to say, okay, wait a minute, this is what we're striving for, and this actually isn't getting us there. Yep. What's another one?
All right, how about the next? It's not my job. And this one is huge, right? So you know that there's a problem and you know that something has to get done, but you're not going to do it because it's quote unquote not your job, right? So that's somebody else's responsibility. And I think that a lot of times with this one, this doesn't foster great teams. If it's always like, okay, well, that's their job, that's their job, that's their job. And, Jen, one of the leaders that we love working with most, one of her hot buttons is when people are just like, what are roles and responsibilities, right? Because that's just, a lot of people think that like people are just trying to shirk their responsibilities if they're not, being one with part of this bigger team, the overall mission. So it's not my job thing. It could really just bite the whole team.
Yep, totally agree. I'll throw one in. Another thing that gets in the way of accountability is finger pointing, which is a little bit different than it's not my job. So the it's not my job is I'm hands off. I'm not responsible for that. So I'm not even going to pay attention to it. Finger pointing is when it's somebody else's fault that you weren't able to do what you said you were going to do. Right. So a great example is if somebody's trying to lose weight and then Aunt Sally brings over a pie, and say, well, if Aunt Sally didn't bring over that pie, I could stay on my plan. So it's about the finger pointing of somebody else doing something that got in your way, or somebody else you're blaming other people for taking a sidestep for what it is that you say you're going to do.
Yeah, totally. Right. Crappy results. No, it wasn't my fault. Somebody else did it or didn't do it.
Yeah. Another one I love is confusion, right? So we say confusion, like what? Get it? I'm so confused about confusion.
The state of.
The reason is that people will hide behind confusion in order to not take action. And so it's very important to be able to see how I'm so confused is really just an excuse for not doing anything. And so part of that is, who do you need to clarify with? Where do you need to get clarity? What needs to be resolved in order for you not to be confused? What can you do even if confusion is present? And next, Karen, why don't you talk about covering your tail?
I like the CYA, right? So this is when you create stories as to why you aren't responsible or why you shouldn't be blamed about whatever it is that's actually happening regarding the lack of accountability. So this is just making things up or just basically setting it up ahead of time that it wasn't your responsibility. So you're just covering your butt ahead of time.
Yeah. And then we have the wait and see with, I'm not going to do anything. Let's just wait and see how this turns out. Or I need to wait and see for someone to give me an answer. Or I need to wait and see what the insurance company says. So however those things come into play, it's basically we don't move forward because we are waiting on somebody else to do something. Those are great things to be able to highlight about what gets in the way. So when we have these excuses that override or oversee what we're doing with accountability, then there's less likelihood we'll get the results that we're actually looking for.
And I think, Jen, in a nutshell, right here, excuses, just freaking excuses.
It's true. So hopefully you've enjoyed the month of accountability and results. And the big question to you is, how have you held yourself accountable during this series to bring more accountability into your life? We'd actually love to hear some of the things you've put into practice from any of the episodes of our podcast. You can feel free to send us an email at getreal@kickstartyouredge.com. Drop us a note to say, what do you love most about our podcast? What are you putting into play? And any topics that you might want to hear. We look forward to hearing from you, and we will see you next month with a new topic and new commentary.
Over and out. Bye, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Kickstart Your Coaching Edge podcast. Craving more in-depth discussions? Check out the Get Real Inner Circle with our no BS in-crowd of coaches.
Join live coaching discussions, breakdowns of coaching calls, and have some fun while you're at it.
You're going to want to go to kickstartyouredge.com/inner circle. It's time to get real.